right, we're talking about trigonometry, and this is just a little reminder video for you about some right triangle trigonometry for a couple of special triangles. When we talk about the sine of 45 degrees or the cosine at 60 degrees, or really the measurements at 45, 60, or 30 degrees, right? We're talking about trig functions for those. We're going to talk about two special triangles. And if you might remember from geometry, that a 45, 45, 90 triangle we can say has side lengths of 1, 1, and if we do a little Pythagorean theorem, the square root of 2. Now, technically, we don't know the lengths of those side lengths, so we should call them x, x, and x root 2. But remember that when we talk about trig ratios, we're going to be dividing those side lengths, and x will divide away every time, right? If we take x even divided by x root 2, again, those x's are going to disappear, and we're going to have 1 over root 2. And we might need to rationalize that a little bit, right? So just a reminder for us very quickly. Again, root 2 on the bottom, root 2 on the top. We'd get simple answers like root 2 over 2. So now, let's talk about those trig ratios. If I'm going to talk about the sine at 45 degrees, remember the sine is opposite, okay, over adjacent. So again, from 45 degrees, doesn't really matter which angle you look at. I'm talking about opposite, over hypotenuse, right, sine. Well, again, like we said, that's going to be x over x root 2, which is the one we just talked about. We're going to get a root 2 over 2, right? So root 2 divided by 2 for that sine of 45 degrees. Cosine at 45 degrees, really the same idea. We're talking adjacent, so again, x divided by x root 2. So you're going to get the same answer. And tangent, well, that would just be x over x, right? Opposite over adjacent. So that's just going to be a 1. Now, when we look at a 60 or a 30 degree angle, well, the same idea happens, only a 30, 60, 90 triangle. You may remember, again, is side lengths of 1 or x. Hypotenuse is going to be 2 or 2x. And if you do a little Pythagorean theorem again, it comes out to a clean root 3. It's a special triangle in that way, shape, or form there. Sine of 60 then is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine adjacent over hypotenuse. And the tangent, again, opposite over adjacent. Cosine at 30, well, now we're just looking at the other side. Same triangle, but again, 30 is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. So basically, the same thing as the cosine of 60, right? Cosine at 30 degrees, well, same idea. It's going to be the adjacent over hypotenuse. So same as the sine of 60, right? If the sine at 60 was looking at the opposite in the hypotenuse, well, now from 30, that just became the adjacent in the hypotenuse. We're using the same side lengths. So it makes sense that those come out equal to each other, right? So it kind of makes sense there. And then finally, the tangent at 30, well, now I'm saying 1 over root 3, right? So a little rationalizing. We're going to get a root 3 over 3. Now, those are super popular answers. So again, a lot of teachers will require you to memorize those answers. I wouldn't memorize them. Personally, if you can draw out the two triangles up top, each time you draw it, if you can quickly find those answers, the more and more you do them, you may end up memorizing them without even knowing it. But basically, if you can always draw those two special triangles, you can always figure out what those will be. Now, you shouldn't only know them in degrees, though. Don't forget that 45 degrees is also the same thing as pi over 4 in radians. Again, 60 degrees is pi over 3 in radians. And pi over 6 would have been the same thing as 30 degrees, right? So again, all of these trig ratios, right, the ratios of side lengths would still hold true even if you're in radian mode, right? Even if you're in radian mode. So again, sine of radian measures pi over 3, sine of essentially 60 degrees, right? Same thing as what it would have been in the sine of 60 degrees. I hope that helps you again with those special triangles. If you have any questions, talk to your teacher. Otherwise, have a great day.